Welcome to the John and Heidi Show podcast.
John and Heidi.
Here's John and Heidi.
Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show this weekend. Hey, baby, how you doing?
Well, it's the weekend, and I'm at work.
Hey, I love it when you're here on the weekend. Hey, got a couple of things going on. We've got a couple quotes because I've been doing like a quote every day. So the Saturday quote is, little minds are tamed and subdued by misfortune, but great minds rise above them. That's from Washington Irving. That's pretty cool.
All right.
And the quote for Sunday is, it is the mark of an educated mind to be able to entertain a thought without accepting it. Aristotle. So there you go. And speaking of great minds, we've got a guest joining us today. We're going to be talking with Dr. Moe Jallo, and we're going to talk about heart health today. So that's coming up later in the program. And listen to this. Engineered mice have produced a malaria vaccine in their milk that when taken out of the mouse and put into a monkey, it also helps protect the monkey from malaria. So that's good news for monkeys with malaria, apparently. All right. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show.
John and Heidi.
Today is a special day, Heidi. Do you know what today is?
What is today, John?
I thought you'd never ask. Let's do the whole darn weekend. Sunday, March 18th, Awkward Moments Day, Corn Dog Day, BYO Cup Day for 7-Eleven. What does that mean? I don't know. Forgive Mom and Dad Day, International Sports Car Racing Day, National Biodiesel Day, Worldwide Quilting Day, and Play the Recorder Day. Do you remember the recorder?
I do.
Did you play Hot Cross Buns
We
on that?
played Hot Cross Buns.
I think everybody learned that one. Sunday, March the 19th is Clients Day, Goddess of Fertility Day, National Certified Nurses Day, National Chocolate Caramel Day, National Poultry Day, Operation Iraqi Freedom Day, and Swallows Return to San Juan Capistrano Day. A lot of stuff going on this weekend, so get out there and celebrate. How are you going to celebrate? With some National Chocolate Caramel? Or with a...
I usually don't celebrate any of the things.
Oh, I try to celebrate all of them. So, and I'm going to celebrate Corn Dog Day, too. There you go.
John and Heidi.
Hey, it's John and Heidi. Join us for 80s in the Sand, a week-long 80s event this November 11th through the 18th in beautiful Punta Cana in the Dominican Republic.
Meet and listen to 80s bands like Loverboy, Starship, Howard Jones, and many more.
Plus, meet 80s icons from the movies like Anthony Michael Hall, Andrew McCarthy, and several others.
Get all the details at 80sinthesand.com.
Use promo code RADIO to get a $200 immediate refund per person.
Book your week-long 80s vacation now at 80sinthesand.com.
You know it's true because you heard it on the radio. At this time every day, I try to find something that I think is kind of ridiculous, and then we talk about that. And take a listen to this. I'm going to read word for word what it says here. Men who open doors for women are as guilty of sexism as those who are rude to them.
Oh, good Lord.
That is according to a study. Psychologists found that a friendly or chivalrous attitude can mask chauvinistic and patronizing views because the men see females as weak creatures in need of their protection.
Whatever. That is such BS.
They warned that this benevolent sexism was harder to spot than the hostile version born out of an open apathy. Jin Go, a psychologist from Northeastern University in Boston in the United States, said, while many people are sensitive to sexist verbal offenses, they may not readily associate sexism with warmth and friendliness. Unless sexism is understood as having both hostile and benevolent properties, the insidious nature of benevolent sexism will continue to be one of the driving forces behind gender equality. End quote.
I would like to tell Jim where he can go.
It's not Jim, it's Jin, J-I-N.
Jin.
And I don't know if that's a he or a she. So, anyway.
Whatever. Whoever it is, stupid.
Well, how do you really feel about this?
That
idea?
is the most offensive study I have ever seen in my life. I have taught my son to be chivalrous. As I'm a woman,
be kind.
I have taught him to be chivalrous. And not only to women, but if there's a man coming who's right next to you when you're going in, you don't let the door go and slam it in their face.
No,
you hold the door
people.
open.
You just be kind to others, whether they're male or female.
And especially for females.
Yeah.
I think it is horrible that they're saying that now it's no longer okay to open a car door for a woman or to...
I can get my own door.
I think that is ridiculous. And women like that, if you are dating somebody who talks to you like that, you need to find somebody different.
I can get a different girlfriend.
Yeah, absolutely you should. Absolutely. Who would want to be with somebody so hateful and angry and bitter?
I turned your microphone off like 3 minutes ago.
That is the most irritating thing.
Okay. Now we know how she feels. And you know it's true because you heard it on the radio.
John and Heidi.
The John and Heidi Show is brought to you in part by the Keystone Treatment Center.
This is your brain. And this is your brain on drugs. We share silly stories here on the program, but addiction is no joke. If you or someone you know suffers with an addiction to drugs or alcohol, make today the day you seek help.
Call toll-free 844-204-1055.
That's a toll-free number. Again,
844-204-1055.
and this is your brain on drugs and your tax dollars at work, too. At South Carolina's Brooklyn Case High School, substitute teacher Judith Richard Garty, probably former substitute teacher from the story here, appeared to be violently ill. She was found throwing up in the classroom and hardly able to stand. Police noticed something unusual in her purse because they called like the guidance counselor, or what do they call the resource officer in there?
Okay.
A big old box of wine. Students said she'd been drinking that in class. Judith was removed from the classroom in a wheelchair and charged with disorderly conduct. Students reported that she was consuming the wine during class. I have to say this. I don't condone that. I think that's bad. But I watched a video of some students treating a teacher like dirt, and it would drive, I think, almost anyone to drink in the way that they were treating this. And it's the kids were videotaping this thinking it was funny. And it was posted online, and then people were commenting, what would you do if you found out your kids treated their teacher like this? And I was like, well, thank goodness my kids would never do that. But if they did, they would be apologizing. They would be apologizing to that teacher in person, face to face, not a text or a tweet. And then they would be grounded for a long time, not doing any of the things they want to do. And I think that's ridiculous. So sadly, this young lady was drunk as a skunk during school. And that's what happens when your brain is on drugs.
John and Heidi.
Now your moment of duh. This was almost our moment. This was almost our brain on drugs, but that other one was just a better story for it. University of Central Arkansas student Blake Puckett was pulled over by police last weekend and tried to prove his sobriety to officers by juggling.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Puckett was on his way home from the library and was driving slower than usual because he had a brake light out. Police pulled him over, suspecting that he was maybe going slower because of his impaired driving, thinking that maybe he was drunk, but he wasn't. Anyway, his license plate is Juggler, Juggler, offered to perform a juggling trick for the officers, but he was not actually drunk. He was just coming home from the library, going slow because his brake light was out. That's why that didn't really make it as our drunk story.
Okay.
But it's still a good moment of duh. Coming up, we have your scoop of the day. Heidi's just looking at me like I'm drunk. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show.
The scoop of the day is brought to you by Wells Blue Bunny. If you want delicious ice cream, be sure to look for the Blue Bunny. Sure to have your favorite flavors. Learn more at bluebunny.com.
Now your scoop of the day. Research from the King's College in Pennsylvania show 4 out of 5 college student drivers have texted while driving. Previous research shows that texting while driving slowers your driving reaction times more than being drunk while driving. So they're saying that's bad too. So don't do that. Interesting here. A socialist political party is pressing to give human rights to apes. It doesn't.
Are you surprised by that?
No, I don't. It doesn't say which country that's from, so I wonder where that is. That here? Do we have a lot of apes that are looking for their rights? A recent study shows that knocking on wood and throwing salt over your shoulder could, quote, reverse bad luck. So, and then toss some salt over your shoulder. And that's supposed to reverse if you got bad luck, So if you're walking around today with bad luck, that's all you got to do, according to this stupid thing I just read on the radio. Do you believe any of that?
No.
No, me neither. Hey, according to a recent Time magazine poll, 80% of Americans surveyed said children are more spoiled today than they were 10 years ago.
That's
Do you
true.
think?
Yep, for
Really?
sure.
I'll tell you, and here's the problem. Everybody wants their kids to have it better than they had it. Mm-hmm. And, our parents want us to have it better than they had it, and their parents wanted them to have it better than they had it. So we just keep having it better and better and better. That's why they're so spoiled. I understand that. Getting by on less sleep could be a way to lose weight. Now, that's exactly the opposite of what we've been told, isn't it? Getting by on less sleep could be a good way to lose weight. It says the news comes from scientists at an international sleep conference where researchers noted your body burns 5% more energy when you get just 5 hours of sleep a night.
Whatever.
So they're saying 5 hours is the key.
No matter what is happening, you're
We're
going to
doing it
find
wrong.
another scientist who has the exact opposite opinion. So
I
is
know.
it really science
No.
when they're
Everybody
kind of
disagrees.
just making stuff up and on the fly?
I'd have to ask an ape if they get their rights. I'm not sure. Hey, Good Housekeeping reports that 76% of toy recalls are due to design flaws rather than problems like lead paint. Yeah, but problems like design flaws can also cause pinching fingers and bad things. So, design flaws can be bad too. The UN reports that North Korea tried to sell nuclear material online. Were they on eBay or something?
Awesome.
Oh, that's just crazy. The vocabulary of the average person consists of about 5,000 words. Do you think you use 5,000 words, or do you think you use more or less than that, Heidi? And you've got a couple that are kind of your favorites.
Oh, yeah.
You can't
I use
say
a
them
lot of
here.
colorful words.
Yeah. I bet I probably use at least 5,000, maybe even more. Our son uses more than that.
Oh, yeah. He's got
He'll
ridiculous. He'll throw out a
word
and it's
that
like,
I have
what
to like.
is that?
I'll pause him and say, wait. What was that? What was that word back there? Like my favorite, I started using it now, is sardonic, because I was being sarcastic one time, and our son said, "Well, I understand you're just being sardonic," and I was like, "I'm being what? Wait a minute, what did you just call me?" He said, "Well, it's like sarcastic, but apparently it's a smarter way of saying that." Hey, the original idea for steak knives actually came from shark teeth. Did you know that?
I did not.
I didn't know that either. Oh, that was going to be a fun fact. I just ruined it. Never mind. That's coming up later. And finally, scientists tell us that your body literally glows, emitting a visible light in extremely small quantities at levels that rise and fall with the day. Past research has shown that your body emits visible light 1,000 times less intense than levels to which our naked eye can see. In fact, virtually all living creatures emit a very weak, a visible light, a very, very weak light, thought to be a byproduct of biochemical reactions involving free radicals. So, there you go.
Okay.
All of that to say, we've got a guest coming up.
John and Heidi.
Radio advertising works. When it's done right, it works even better. There are many things you can do to get a better response, and shouting sale really isn't the best thing, believe it or not. Did you know that when you put words to music, they're 9 times more memorable? If you're trying to get people to remember your company, consider a jingle. We work with one of the very best jingle companies in the business, and we'd love to use music to help you grow your company. Learn more and hear examples at RadioReallyWorks.com. That's RadioReallyWorks.com.
John and Heidi.
Thank you so much for listening to the John and Heidi Show. Last month was National Heart Month. We had that Valentine's Day in the middle of that month, and we got all these wonderful things that we celebrate throughout the year. But your heart is important every single day of the year. And we've got a gentleman that's going to be visiting with us right now, Dr. Moe Jallo, and we're going to be talking about some really important things when it comes to the heart. So first of all, let's just say hello to Dr. Moe Jallo. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Very good. Thanks for joining us today. And I see on here it says you're a pharmacist, and you're going to explain the importance of medication adherence with irregular heartbeats and the impact it has on rising healthcare costs. I know one of the things that I've heard people do when they're feeling better, they say, well, I'm feeling better, so I don't need to keep taking this anymore. Well, no, it's the medicine that's making you feel better. So that's kind of important to keep taking it, isn't it?
Exactly. I would say these are those disease states where people may not always physically feel the symptoms, but this is one where it's extremely important people take their medication that could prevent them, from having like a stroke.
Now, what are some of the leading causes of heart disease, and who are the people that are most at risk?
There's so many things that can cause it. I would say probably the leading things are like having high blood pressure, being elderly, meaning if you're over than 65, if you have diabetes, or if you already have a history of heart disease, or if you have a family risk or history of heart disease. Those are things that definitely can increase it. But if they have some concerns whether they have it or not, I would recommend them go to their primary care provider or their local doctor to see and evaluate what's the risk of having heart disease and what they can do to prevent it from happening.
Now, on here in the notes, it's talking about AFib. So let's first of all talk about what AFib is, and then how AFib can lead to an increased risk of a stroke.
Yeah, so think of AFib as like a significant irregular heartbeat. Now, the problem is that can cause blood clots as well as cause heart failure. And probably the biggest of them all is it can cause stroke.
So these are kind of scary things to be even talking about.
Exactly. These are pretty scary where once you have a stroke, or in some cases, that can cause irreversible damage.
Now, when a person gets put on medication for one of those things and they go, well, I'm feeling better, so I'm going to quit taking it, that's not good. How is that non-adherence to your medication impacting healthcare costs?
Unfortunately, that can make it easier for you to end up in the hospital because if you're not having the medication in your body, it's less likely going to be able to protect you from having a stroke. And that can just make it easier for you to actually have a stroke and spend a couple nights in the hospital. And they actually did a couple studies where they showed that over $100 billion was spent in hospital costs because of people not taking their medications and them ending up in the hospital.
So it's important to listen to your doctor. When they say you need to take 2 of these, well, you need to take 2 of those. You got to keep doing that.
Exactly. It's very important that you have to speak to your doctor as well as your pharmacist that if you are taking your medication. And if you have any questions, such as if you want to discontinue or if you want to change the regimen, don't stop right away. Have that conversation with the entire team so we could probably provide the best recommendations.
Now, as you have been in this field for a while, how have things changed over the last few years with the changes in healthcare? Has this become a bigger problem where people are not taking the medications that they're prescribed?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people not taking their medications because they physically don't feel anything. They don't feel like the benefits. For example, usually, let's say if you have pain and you take a medication like Tylenol or acetaminophen, usually you feel that benefit. Well, that's not the case with atrial fibrillation, where many patients won't feel physical symptoms, and because of that, people will say, "Oh, well, I feel better now. I don't have to take your medication." Where in this case, no matter what, you have to be taking it, or it's strongly recommended. And in the case that you want to change your regimen, I would have a conversation with your doctor or your prescriber.
Very nice. Well, thank you so much for taking some time to chat with us today. And again, this is something that last month, February being American Heart Month, this was kind of all the rage, and everybody was talking about it last month. And when we scheduled this interview, I said, this is important every day of the year, so I think it's important to talk about it, even if we couldn't squeeze it into Heart Month, because this isn't something that you only think about 1 month out of the year, is it?
Exactly. No, this is something you think about the entire year, but I'm happy at least we can give it a little bit more attention in February.
Exactly. Well, thank you again for taking the time to chat with us. If people would like to learn more about you, is there a place they can go to find you online?
To find me online, they can also go to the American Pharmacists Association website or pharmacist.com. That's probably one of the best places they can go to find information about me as well as other pharmacists, as well as what people can do to know more about the medications as well.
Again, Dr. Moe Jallo joining us today talking about the importance of sticking to that medication that the doctor gives you. Don't just say, I feel better, I'm not taking it anymore. Thank you so much for listening to the John and Heidi Show.
John and Heidi.
Many people go to college, but when they graduate, they've racked up a ton of debt. Not everyone, though. Matthew Einstone saved over $70,000 on a top-rate education. Then, after everyone wanted to know how he did it, he built a system to show you how to do it, too. Learn how you can use his system for yourself or for your kids. Go to freeeducationuniversity.com. Watch a few videos there for free. Sign up now and get a free 60-minute private consultation with Matthew. That's freeeducationuniversity.com. Use promo code Radio20 to save 20%.
John and Heidi.
Fun fact for you, Heidi.
What's that, John?
Sugar was first added to chewing gum in 1869. Guess who put it there?
I have no idea.
A dentist.
Ah.
William Semple. He's like, hey, what would be better for my business? We sprinkle a little sugar in this chewing gum. Fun fact for you, Heidi.
What's that, John?
Scissors were invented by who? Who do you think?
I don't know. Mr. Mead?
No. Who's Mr. Mead?
Mead is a company that makes tape and scissors.
Oh, I didn't know that. Scissors were invented by Leo DiCaprio. No, I'm sorry. Leonardo da Vinci. Yeah, not DiCaprio. Different one. Leonardo da Vinci, not DiCaprio. That was just wrong. Fun fact for you, Heidi.
What's that, John?
President John F. Kennedy would read 4 newspapers in 20 minutes. So he was apparently a very fast reader. And our final fun fact for you, Heidi.
What's that, John?
I think I've told you this before, but the sound of E.T. walking was made by somebody squishing her hands in jelly. So next time you watch that, you'll have to think of that. So there you go. A couple of fun facts for you this weekend.
John and Heidi.
This is Richard Lustig, the world's first and only 7-time lottery game grand prize winner. Since I endorsed Lottolicious, I have won something every single draw. They do all the work. You don't have to worry about running to the store to buy your tickets. They take care of all that. So if you're looking for the best way to play the lottery, to give yourself the best chance of winning, go to RadioLottoPool.com and join today. Again, that website is RadioLottoPool.com.
John and Heidi.
We are cruising through the month of March, and next month is April. And what is known for the middle of April? Tax Day. So when is Tax Day in 2017? It says here, April 15th is traditionally the last day you can rush your file to your annual return. It says the reality is much different and varies all across the country. For most taxpayers, the deadline for filing and paying taxes is actually April 18th, a Tuesday. This year, April 15th falls on a Saturday, and while one might think the tax day would be bumped to the following Monday, IRS agents will not be in the office on April 17th in observance of Emancipation Day. It's a holiday in D.C. that commemorates the day President Abraham Lincoln freed the slaves. So, April 18th is officially tax day for 2017, for the most part. In parts of Georgia and Mississippi, some people have until May 31st to file and pay their taxes, and portions of Louisiana have until June 30th to pay their taxes. So that's kind of crazy. April 15th is the one that we always think about, though.
Yep.
That's the one that's officially called Tax Day.
Yep.
And then all those other days are different days. Are you okay over there?
Yeah, I'm fine.
What are you doing? Are you filing our taxes while we're doing this? Okay. Coming up here in a bit, we're going to be talking about the old ball and chain. When people are talking about their spouse like that, we've got a story to talk about how unrealistic that is and how it's not really the case. We're going to chat about all of that. By the way, if you want to know more about the tax day thing and all the intricacies there, we've got all of the details at Facebook.com/John and Heidi Show.
John and Heidi.
Hey, it's John and Heidi inviting you to join us for a party in paradise.
This is a week-long event with 80s music from over a dozen awesome bands.
And 80s movie and TV icons like Anthony Michael Hall, Andrew McCarthy, and several others.
Get all the details at 80sinthesand.com.
Use promo code RADIO to get a $200 immediate refund per person.
We'll even get together to have some drinks with you.
Book your week-long 80s vacation now at 80sinthesand.com.
That's 80sinthesand.com.
For those of you who are married, Heidi, are you married?
I am.
Is your husband a nice guy? I'm her husband, by the way. Have you ever referred to me as the old ball and chain?
Never.
Have I ever referred to you that way?
No.
That you know of?
No.
I haven't, honestly. Well, it says here, the ball and chain perception of marriage is a myth. According to research brief by the Institute for Family Values released in February, married men have more money and better intimacy, and a longer and happier life than their single peers. Those benefits do not apply to men living with a woman outside of marriage, by the way. So if you're not married, none of those things are true. So it's only married men. And if you want to read all about that, I've got a link on our Facebook page. Man, I got a ton of stuff on there this weekend. Facebook.com/John and Heidi Show. I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
So
well,
if
you're
Not,
welcome.
you thank you so much. If you're not married, it doesn't count, guys. So if you're just living together, that doesn't count. Check it out. All the details on our Facebook page.
John and Heidi.
We've had stories like this before. Debbie Watts went into work one morning not feeling well, and she came home with a baby. Yeah.
Oh.
She didn't know she was pregnant. She works at McDonald's. This is in England. Their drive-through windows are on the other side of the building there. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Because their cars are...
Yeah.
Yeah, they drive.
Yeah.
So, anyway, she works at McDonald's in England. She said she was unaware that she was even pregnant. She complained of stomach pains and felt an incredible urge to push. Within a matter of minutes, she gave birth to a 6-pound, 6-ounce baby girl in the restroom at McDonald's. A little help from a coworker. The girl's name is Danielle. So, the baby's name, not the coworker.
I don't know how that is possible.
I know,
Having had 2 children.
We know people that have done it, though.
I just
we know
don't
a person anyway.
understand.
But yeah, it is possible, but it just happened. And we read another story like this. I don't know, maybe it was a year ago, 2 years ago. We read a similar story. So
here's the thing, though: they kick, they move. What would you think was going on in there?
I don't know. I had a burrito.
I mean, it's very obvious when they're moving around what that is.
If she's never had a baby, she didn't know what that was. I have no clue. All I know is it's interesting stuff.
John and Heidi.
Many people go to college, but when they graduate, they've racked up a ton of debt. Not everyone, though. Matthew Einstein saved over $70,000 on a top-rate education. Then, after everyone wanted to know how he did it, he built a system to show you how to do it too. Learn how you can use this system for yourself or for your kids. Go to freeeducationuniversity.com. Sign up now and get a free 60-minute private consultation with Matthew. That's freeeducationuniversity.com. Use promo code RADIO20 to save 20%.
John and Heidi.
Got a couple stories that kind of go together, so I'm going to try to get through the first one so I can get to the second one here in our 2 minutes. A new study has revealed that church buildings go largely unused for most of the week. Statistics show that church halls are empty 57% of the week. Church worship spaces are empty 69% of the week, and church meeting rooms are empty 75% of the week. Makes you wonder what you might be able to do with that space during the off hours. And there's a study that they're working on trying to come up with good uses for those spaces during the rest of the week. I think that's really cool. Now, here's the other story. Within the last decade, it's been reported that 70% of Americans identify as Christians. But when it comes to actually living out those beliefs, the percentage gets much lower. A new study out of American Culture and Faith Institute has revealed that only 10% hold basic Christian beliefs. The data was collected from more than 6,000 surveys that asked Christian 101 questions about spiritual beliefs and actual behaviors. So, do you think that first of all, would you say you are a Christian, Heidi?
Yes.
I kind of thought that was the answer, because I am as well. And we've talked about this before. So you didn't stump me on that one. But when it comes to spiritual beliefs and actual behaviors, do you think that you would be in the 10% that acts like a Christian too?
Spiritual beliefs, for sure. My actions do not always
coincide
with my beliefs. I can't say I'm a perfect Christian. I think
No,
that there are very
no
few
such thing as
people who
perfect.
can.
Here's the thing. I was going to get her a shirt that says, I'm a Christian, but I like to swear a little, because that's how Heidi is. And I thought it was funny that somebody made a shirt like that. No, it says, I love Jesus, but I like to swear a little. That's what the shirt was. I was like, that's a Heidi shirt right there. I was like, I got to get her one of those. So, but I don't think anybody should expect perfection from Christians, because you're a Christian doesn't mean you're perfect.
Right, and so that's why I think this study is horrible.
They're talking about your
and
actual
a
behaviors.
real Christian isn't going to lie.
There you go.
About it
so
when they're
10%
asked.
Did,
So
there you go. 10% said, I'm perfect. They didn't really say that, but they did say that they act Christian too, and that's good.
John and Heidi.
This portion of the John and Heidi Show is brought to you by the John and Heidi Show. That sounds kind of funny, but it's true. Go to your local radio station and ask them to start carrying the John and Heidi Show. Here's the best part. They can carry the show for free. They play a couple commercials, but it doesn't cost them anything every month. So if you know a radio station that could use a little bit of help, send them our way. Send them to johnandheidishow.com. Again, johnandheidishow.com. We would love to do a radio program in your community. Then you could listen to the podcast and listen to us on the radio.
John and Heidi.
We always try to wrap things up with some good news, and I've got some good news for you, Heidi. A 6-year-old girl from Chicago, Illinois, became a pint-sized hero to the homeless and the poor in her community this last weekend. And I think this is actually 2 weeks ago. I've been holding this story for a while because I've been trying to make sure I space out my good news with all the good news here.
Okay.
Otherwise, I just burn through it all in a day, and then I'd be out of good news. Anyway, she told her parents she wanted to forego her birthday party and devote her time to serving those in need. So rather than opening gifts and eating cake with friends, Armani Crew and her family spent Sunday, I think it was 2 weeks ago, giving out food and care packages to the poor. How cool is that?
That's very cool.
I've got a link to this story. It's from the 7th, so whenever that was. I think that was a couple weeks ago. Whatever it was. March 7th. So if you want to read the story, I've got a link on our Facebook page, facebook.com/John and Heidi Show. And if you ever have some good news that you would like to share, you're certainly welcome to share that with us on the page. And the best way to do it is if you're on that Facebook page, send a message to the page, and then I'll get it. That's not how Heidi does it. She just mentions it to me while I'm driving doing 12 other things, and then I never remember it, so I can never get your story on. So please don't be a Heidi. Do it the right way. And then we can't even remember what the stories are. Do you remember that? Mm-hmm. So one day I was looking for a good news story, and I was like, hey, what was it you were telling me about the other day when we were driving? You're like, I don't know. I was like, you kept playing a video. You're like, hey, watch this. And I'm like, Heidi, I'm driving. I'm not watching that right now. And then you're like, no, it's so fun. You could just listen to it. And I don't remember what the video was. I don't remember any of it. So
I'm sure it was awesome, though.
it was awesome, but you didn't share it the right way, so we never got it on the program. I'll come across it someday and go, oh, yeah, that was the video. But if you'd like to share something, again, facebook.com/John and Heidi Show, and then just send a message through that page. Time to say goodbye, Heidi.
Goodbye, Heidi.
Goodbye, everybody. Have a great day. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show this weekend.